Hi, we're over in the workshop today and we're going to be taking a look at two brand new but faulty plasma cutters. That's them in the boxes there. So I'll just get one out of the box, and while I'm doing that I'll read you the email that I received from a viewer called Julian. And what Julian says in the email is, "Good morning Mr. Buy It Fix It, I hope you're all well. The story: I purchased a 55 amp plasma cutter from a Chinese seller off eBay. The product arrived very quickly, so they must have UK stock. It cost me £168, brand new product, all packaged, but there was a black mark or two on the cutting tip indicating that it had been fired up at some point. Anyway, it didn't work at all and came up with some fault code that the destruction manual made no mention of. I took the lid off to see if there's anything obviously wrong, but I have very limited knowledge of electronics. However, I did notice that some manual soldering work had appeared to have been done on the board. I asked for a refund and they told me not to bother sending it back and sent me another new one. Guess what? That didn't work either, and they no longer responded to my messages. I raised a dispute with eBay and eventually they refunded me. So now I have two brand new plasma cutters, neither of which work. Perhaps you'd like to have a look at them. They are useless to me. Maybe it's an easy repair, or you could give me one back and sell the other. If it's not an easy repair, then we can discuss something else. Even if you chuck them both in the bin, then I don't really care, as they're no good to me the way they are, and I have my money back from the seller. Please let me know either way. Kind regards, Julian. P.S. Great channel. I love the way you methodically work your way around the problem and share your thoughts with the viewer." Right, thank you very much for that, Julian. Right, let's get this plugged in and see what it's doing. So, that goes into there. This is the cutting torch. I'll just grab a spanner for that. Right, now, one other thing that we need is we need a source of compressed air. So I'll just go and grab the compressor and we'll plug that in as well. So for one moment please. Right, back with the air line for the compressor. Right, I've just been tightening the Jubilee clip up on the back here because of the hissing. But it's actually hissing from inside of the machine now. So let's see what's doing. I've just noticed there's a light flashing here, OC. So I don't know what OC stands for, but it's got a temperature sign next to it, so perhaps it's some kind of over temperature thing. So let's see what it's doing then. Watch your eyes. Just waiting for the compressor to stop there. But it's coming up with a E04 error. Right, let's switch it off and let's take it apart and see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. We'll just turn that compressor off a minute. And I did have a look in the manual and it doesn't say anything about an error 4. It doesn't actually say a lot in the manual. I mean, that's the manual there and it's literally about 4 pages. And the troubleshooting section, I'm not sure if you can see that. That's the troubleshooting section. It doesn't actually say anything about any errors at all. It just says problem with torch doesn't turn on, problem with air supply, ground clamp not attached, or plasma torch not piercing. And that's about it. Right, let's see how this comes apart then. So it looks like we've got about 5 screws on this side and about 5 screws on that side, so let's have a look. And we're in. Right, what have we got in here then? I'll just try zooming in with this camera. Right, so we've got a couple of big inductors down there. You see a couple of big capacitors down here. A bridge rectifier. And a couple of switching MOSFETs just down the bottom here. Like some kind of, looks like a little high voltage transformer there. I wonder if that's for generating the startup arc that's required to initiate the actual main cutting. So that might be. I can't see anything obvious up there now. I'm not sure what this little subboard here is. I mean, there's a relay there. Oh, that must be the, is that the mains power in? Yeah, but it goes to the off switch, so it could be the main power in this. Let's just spin it round. Looks like there's been a little bit of a modification there. Possibly something has been done just here. Nice. I'll flip it over on the bench and we'll see if we can have a look from the top, see if we can see anything. Right, let's see if we can see anything over here then. So this is the front display. And we've got a ribbon cable going to this connector here. So I guess that might be the main microcontroller board just here. It looks like we could have a little switch mode power supply to run this part. We've got a relay there, doesn't look very straight. Looks like it's kind of sticking up on one side, that. Doesn't look like it's been soldered in properly. It's at an angle like that. And then again, I've just noticed this whole board here. Oh, look at that. It's like the state isn't big enough. They keep the board's just flapping about here. I'm not really impressed with the quality of this so far. They've got a bit of a plastic stay here. I'll just lift up a little bit so you can see. A little bit of plastic stay here to give this heatsink here a bit of mechanical support. I mean, it's pretty shocking, that. Hey. Yeah, not the highest quality item, I'd say. Right, I think we need to put a washer or something under here to try and support this board for a start. I wonder if this side's the same. Yeah, even this side's moving up and down. In fact, the screw's loose. Like that. The screw's not even tight. I can't see anything obvious up there now. I've got a couple of more switch and MOSFETs down the bottom here. Let's try and angle down and we'll try and zoom down a fraction. Looks like possibly there's been a little bit of rework done on this component here. Just there, it looks like it could have been soldered. Yeah, well, that relay definitely isn't sitting flat. Looks like we've got possibly a temperature sensor. I don't know if you can see that for that cable. Just here. Just there, looks like there's some kind of temperature sensor that goes along to this point here. Well, that's just fell out. I wonder if that's the problem. Amongst the other problems, that is. Well, that would make sense. If it's saying it's overheating and the temperature sensor hasn't been plugged in properly, well, that would give the symptoms that we've got. I bet that's came out that plug. There's a little plug down here, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little socket just down here. Just there. And that's supposed to be plugged in there, so I bet that came out. And that's what's given the symptoms, because I can't see anything else obvious at the moment. we'll definitely need something done with this. And this point here. Right, this is unplugged by the way, just in case anybody was wondering. Right, I want to see if I can find something to support, like another washer or something to put under here. Tighten that screw up there. We'll plug that back in. I might put a bit hot glue on this connector down here, just to try and keep this plug in. That's a bit difficult for you to see. So I'll put a bit hot glue on here and then we'll give it another try and see what it does. Right, I shall go and sort out some bits and bobs. Right, I found a suitable washer. So what the problem appears to be is the hole in the circuit board here. If you can see that properly. But the hole in the circuit board here seems to be slightly bigger than the stay, so it's just going straight through like that. So what I'm planning on doing is putting a washer behind there if I can, just to give that a bit more support. It may be a bit tricky to get this in, so let's see how we get on. That cable tie wasn't there. We'll just get the cutters and snip that cable tie out of the way. That's a lot more solid. So I wonder if the same problem is going to occur over here on this one. This one actually doesn't look too bad. Just the screws loose. Right. Right, let's plug this temperature sensor back in. Doesn't seem to want to click down in place. Yeah, you can just pull that straight back out. Just doesn't seem to want to click back into place properly. It's like they've used I wonder if that's the right plug they've got in. It's the wrong plug. This one has got like these two little, I don't know what you want to call them, like an arrow shape, whereas the socket has got like a little catch on the outside. So it's more meant for one of these type of connectors where you press the tab. That's what the problem is. They must have they've either put the wrong connector on the board or they've put the wrong plug on the connector. Or they put the wrong plug on the temperature sensor. And that's probably why it came out during shipping. Right, I'm going to put the hot glue gun on and we'll glue that in place. Right, so the glue gun's hot, but I don't think I'm going to be able to fit the glue gun actually down there. So I'm going to have to put some glue on a screwdriver and then try and apply it to the connector, which hopefully should work. Right, something a bit like that. Right, let's get this connected back up then. Right, let's switch it on and see what it does. Right, well it's not coming up with an error now, but I actually haven't got the compressor wired up at the moment, so I'll just hook up the compressor. Right, I've got the compressor hooked up. I'm just going to switch it off a second though, just unplug it from the mains. And the reason is, I don't know if you can hear that hissing. It's from actually around here. I think it needs this connector taken off and then some thread tape put on and then that connector put back on. So might as well sort it out while we're in here. So I'm just going to unplug the compressor a sec. grab a spanner and take that off. It's actually got an O-ring in the end of there, but... Right, let's see if that's cured the air leak problem. Well, I don't appear to have any leaks now, so that's good. Right, I've just put an old jumper on here because I don't want to get any burn holes in my arm. Let's try this out then. Just plug it back in again. Right, that's the power on. Let's get this compressor lead out the way. Right, watch your eyes. Right, and see, that seems to work. Right, let's put this one back together then, and then we'll have a look at the other one. Well, that was a nice easy fix on that. Right, let's get this one out of the way, and we'll have a look at the other one. Right, so this one's still got the torch and everything in the bag. Anyway, let's just plug it in and let's see what the symptoms of this one is. I'm not sure if you need the torch connected or anything. Well, this one's not flashing, so let's connect the torch up. This one hasn't got the regulator or anything connected up. Right, for one moment please. Well, I'm trying to put the air regulator together for this one, and the first problem that I've came across is this hose connector here that goes onto this red hose doesn't even fit. It's too big. So I've had to take the one off the other plasma cutter because that's a different size. That one fits. If I hold them side by side here, you can see. So that's the first problem I've came across. Right, so I've got the air all hooked up now and we don't have any leaks. So let's switch it on and see what happens. Right, let's give it a go on this bit of metal. Well, that seemed to work fine. Let's just try it again, just in case. So on the face of it, this one seems to work fine. So I think what we'll do, we'll just take it apart, have a look over on the inside, see if we can see any problems, and then take it from there. Because it could have some kind of intermittent fault. That's the only thing I can think of. Whether it's when he's transported up here, perhaps the fault's rectified itself. It might just be like a loose plug again, maybe, I don't know. So let's pull this one apart and we'll have a look. Let's move these bits of metal and things out of the way. Just unplug it from the mains. Let's have a look in this one and see if we can see anything. Right, I'll just set the camera up so we can zoom down on it. Right, I've just had to set up some additional lighting in here. It's starting to get a bit dark outside now. So that's got the same plug as the previous plasma cutter. At least the board's secure in this one. I can't see anything obvious up to now. Well, he said as soon as you tried to use it, it came up with the fault code. But this one's plugged in. Let's see if this is plugged in properly on this one. Well, it's actually got a bit of paint on this one to hold it in. But again, it's the wrong type of socket for this plug. So you can see the little lip on the end of there again. Let's try and zoom down a little bit. Yeah, you can see the little catch where it's supposed to clip onto there. And this one again has got the V sort of shape on it. That's supposed to clip into a groove, and this one actually hasn't got the groove on it. Now the only thing I can think is I can leave this running for a little bit and see if the fault develops, because the problem is with a fault like this, you can't actually fix the fault if there isn't a fault to fix. So I think I'll do that. I think I'll set it back up. I'll just leave it switched on for a bit and then we'll see what it does. Well, it's been running for a while now and it hasn't displayed any faults. I haven't got the air supply hooked up, and you can press the button and it starts to arc, and it's not showing any errors on here. So I'm kind of scratching my head what could be the problem. And I say the only way I've found it to show up an error is if you disconnect the temperature sensor, a bit like the other one. If I just switch it off a second, just let it discharge a moment. There, we'll get EO4. It's actually switched off at the moment, it's just the power in the capacitor still. Right, might have to have a little bit of a think on this one. So I've been having to think about these, and we've got two units that had the same fault. And the only thing that I found with one of them was obviously the sensor was unplugged, or not plugged in quite properly, or that's what seemed to be the fault. And this one isn't showing a fault. Now the only thing I'm thinking is, could it be something temperature related? Because the weather the last couple of weeks since he dropped them off has actually warmed up a bit up here. And before that it's been quite cold. So I'm just wondering if these have got the correct temperature sensor fitted or something. You know, if they've put, let's say, a PTC instead of an NTC, so as the temperature goes higher, the resistance lowers instead of the other way around, if you know what I mean. And cold is setting them off instead of hot, because I would have thought this thing here should be like a high temperature sensor. So obviously if the unit's working too hard, it will shut off if the temperature gets too high. So I've got some freezer spray and I'm going to try cooling this down, and we'll observe what happens. So I'm just going to switch it off. As you can see, the light isn't flashing at the moment, so I'm just going to switch it off. I'll just let that discharge. I'll try clicking that, see if I can get it to hurry up a bit. There we go. So I'm going to spray this with some freezer spray and let's see what happens. Just to cool this heat sink down a bit. Because even if it's freezing outside, this unit should still work, I would think. I wouldn't have thought, you know, too cold a temperature would stop it from working. So let's see if that's made any difference. I don't know if you can see that. The over temperature light's flashing. So if I warm that up with a heat gun, we'll see if it stops flashing. got one of these paint stripper guns there. I'm just going to plug this in. Light stopped. Did you see that? It stopped. I've just warmed it up very slightly with a hot air gun and the light stopped. Let's just try the freezer spray again. Let's give that a quick blast. There we go, the light's flashing. And now it's gone off because obviously I've just froze it a tiny little bit there. Oh, it's kind of flashing a little bit there. I think they put the wrong temperature sensors in. And I think that's why the plugs don't fit, because they might have run out of the original sensors and they've put a different one in. And I think that's the problem. So I'm going to get my meter and I'm going to try and work out whether these are PTC or NTC thermistors that they've got in. So I'll just go and grab my meter. I'll just switch this off for a moment. I'll just go and grab my meter. Be back in a mo. So I've removed the temperature sensor and I've just got it here. And there's two types of temperature sensors you can get. You can get a PTC, which means as the temperature rises, so does the resistance. Or you can get what's called an NTC, which as the temperature rises, the resistance decreases. So let's see what this is. Let's try and get my probes on here. So this has got a resistance of about 10k at the moment. About 11k there. So if I warm it up, just by holding it here, we can see the resistance decreasing. So that means this is an NTC. You can see there, the resistance is decreasing as the temperature increases. Right, so what I've done, I've just got a potentiometer here. This is a 47k because it's the only one I could find at the moment, and I've wired a connector onto the end of it. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug it into the plasma cutter and I'm going to adjust it, and we'll see if we can work out what limits or what resistances make it work and make it stop working. So I'll plug this in and then we'll switch it on and then we'll try that. Right, I've got this plugged in. I'll just switch it on. Right, so that's it flashing there. And that's the error message. So that resistance is too low. And it likes that resistance that I've got it set to at the moment. So we'll just switch it off there again. We'll just get rid of the power out of it. And let's try and measure this resistance on here. See what we'll get. Let's unplug that. So that's about 15k. Right, so the minimum it likes is 15k. Let's try the other way then. I'll just plug this back in. Right, I'll switch it on. Right. So that was a different error message as well. That was EO1. So let's see what resistance we've got on here now. well, it's about 1 ohm. I don't know if you can see the meter there. Yeah, that's about 1 ohm there. Actually, no, hang on. Let's check what these leads on properly. Yeah, it's about 1 ohm. Well, that's strange. So it was fine until nearly a dead short. Interesting. Right, so I've made another little discovery. I'll just switch it back on. I'll just show you what I found. If I switch this on with the original temperature sensor plugged in, there we go. So I think EO2 is overheating. I'll just switch this off a second. So I think EO2 means the unit's overheated. EO1 must be that it thinks the temperature sensor is shorted. And EO4, it thinks the temperature sensor has been unplugged. So what I think's happening is, because these are being tested in China and it's a lot warmer climate out there than what it is in the UK, they haven't checked it in a cold environment. So I think what happens is, once the temperature sensor drops below a certain temperature, it thinks it's been unplugged. So I think what we can do to stop that from happening would be to, let's say, solder a, I don't know, 10K resistor in parallel with this, so the temperature would increase and it would shut off still fine. However, it would never drop below a certain temperature. But I mean, I suppose then if the temperature sensor was unplugged, it wouldn't register. So it does have a little bit of a downside to it, but I think that's the only thing I can think of at the moment that would make the unit workable. So I thought I'd just test this sensor again. You can see there, because the temperature's dropped a little bit in here, and it's about 15K. So that's definitely what's happening. Right, it's about 15K or so there. So right, I've had a hunt around, and what I've done is I've got a 10K resistor and a 4.7, and if we link those in series, 14.5K, I think that'll do nicely. So what I'm going to do is just solder this point here and solder these onto the back of this connector where this NTC plugs in, and that means the resistance can't go below the 15K. So even if this gets cold, it's not going to throw up that error. Right, I'll start doing that then. I'm going to use the Milwaukee soldering iron that I repaired in a previous video. It's a bit chunky. Probably not ideal for this sort of work, but because I'm in the shed, I'm going to put a bit of heat shrink, I think, over there. I might actually use some bigger heat shrink and try and get it over the two resistors. Right, let's get this plasma cutter in position. And this is connector here. Right, something like that. Let's see if this hot glue gun's hot. Right, the glue gun's just starting to get hot enough. Right, I think that'll do for that. So what I'm going to try next is just plug it in without this attached, and hopefully it shouldn't come up with an error. Let's plug it into the mains and let's switch it on. Right, so we're not getting the error now. So now if we connect the NTC back up, so I'll screw it back onto the heatsink, this should now work and we shouldn't have that error come up anymore now. Right, I'm going to do that then. I think I'm going to secure that plug back in there with some hot glue as well, because that's the same type of plug on the other plasma cutter that doesn't fit quite properly. I might just beat the seat down there. Right, that should do for that. Right, so the next thing is just for us to put it together, and then we'll give it a final test and we'll see if all that works. Right, I shall assemble it and then I'll come back. Right, that's it all back together. So I thought I'd do the same modification to this one as well, so this one won't have the problem either, but I've noticed this has already got a modification on it, which the other one doesn't seem to have. Definitely an afterthought. Also there's a bit of a, it looks like there's been two traces or something joined together here and they've scraped it away. Looks like it's had a bit of work done on this one actually. There's a few scrapes and things at the top here. Yeah, not the best of units. Right, I'll put this one back together and then we'll give them a test. Right, that's them both back together, so let's plug them in and try them. Right, that's the first one all set up, ready to cut, and I'm using my Milwaukee rocket light to illuminate the area there. I repaired that in the previous video. Right, let's give this a go then. Let's put some gloves on. Right, that one works. Let's get the other one set up. Now I am going to have to swap over the little air intake port because it's the wrong one. So I'll just quickly do that. Right, that's the other one set up and ready to go. I'll just go and grab the torch. Right, let's give this one a go then. Oh, it's just gone off there. Just did a reset. Well, apart from that one resetting there, but I think that was when the arc struck, so I think it caused some interference which caused the CPU to reset on that one. I mean, I don't think these are particularly good units, to be quite honest with you. You know, I think they're more Chinese junk than anything else. But they both appear to be working now. I mean, Julian did kindly offer to give me one of them, but I've already got a plasma cutter, so he can have them both back working and hopefully you can get some use out of them. So right then, I think we'll call this one a fix then. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, please subscribe. Any comments or questions, please leave it in the comments section below. And as always, have a great day. Thanks for watching.